In this tutorial, I'm going to help you learn how to write an answer which helps to describe and explain the formation of a U-shaped valley. Now, I'd suggest at this stage, if you haven't looked at the corrie, that you want to start with the corrie, because the explanation for the corrie contains some important elements which will flow into the U-shaped valley. Okay, when answering this question, there's two options. You can write an answer, or you can draw a diagram, or actually you can do a blend of both. You have to look closely at the question. If the question requires you to draw a diagram, then you must make sure you do so. If the question says you may use a diagram, then you're not required to draw a diagram. You might just choose to write your answer. So pay attention to the wording of the question before engaging with this answer. Okay, the first thing you've got to think about when answering this question is how does it all start? And in this case, our feature doesn't start as a U-shaped valley like we see here. It actually starts as a V-shaped valley. So I just show you quickly what that looks like. It is something like this, or another alternate diagram that we can see. Just bring it up. It will look something like the V-shaped valley that's loading. Now, in the case of a V-shaped valley, this is a valley formed by river erosion. Here we are. And it doesn't have as steep sides as a U-shaped valley has, as we can see here. So the very first point you're going to say when you're explaining the formation of the U-shaped valley, and this is, if you want to note this down now, is that U-shaped valley is formed by a glacier which begins at the start of the Ice Age to move through a V-shaped valley, which was formed prior to the Ice Age by river erosion. Okay, so explaining that a glacier has moved into a V-shaped valley, which was formed by a river eroding it before the Ice Age, will get you your first mark. What you can now do is tell me that the glacier itself has formed by layers of snow falling on top of each other over many years and not melting, and therefore the bottom layers compress into ice, forming the glacier. So explaining how the glacier forms itself can get you a second mark. Okay, right, so how do we get down to this? Well, the next key point is the idea that as the glacier moves, it scours the valley deeper and deeper, eroding it downwards and widening it. So here we can see that the valley is now deeper compared to what it was here before the Ice Age, and it's also much wider compared to very narrow before the Ice Age. So the key thing here is to explain how it does this. So how does it do it? Well, as it moves, it does two things. It does plucking and abrasion. And just like with the corrie, when you mention that the valley is created through erosion, through the process of plucking and abrasion, you want to then say abrasion is where rocks contained within the glacier scrape along the bottom and sides of the valley, widening and deepening it. Also, the valley is further widened and deepened by rocks, by the ice sticking to the valley, freezing to it, and then ripping parts of the valley away in a process known as plucking. So mention the idea of plucking, mention the idea of abrasion, and write a sentence that tells me what each of these is, and you get further credit for doing that. Okay. At the end of the Ice Age, we are left with an over-deepened valley. That means it's much deeper than it was before. A widened valley compared to what it was before the Ice Age. And also it now has a flat bottom. There is a chance there may be a small stream flowing through the base of it, and sometimes these valleys actually get full of long, narrow ribbon lakes that fill the bottom. In this case, I would call that a ribbon lake. That's just a small pond. But if this was full of a big valley, a big lake, then that would be a ribbon lake. So let's just refresh our memory. What's the key sentences we need to write in this answer? We need to start by saying that the U-shaped valley is formed by a glacier moving through a V-shaped valley. The V-shaped valley was formed by a river prior to the Ice Age. That's the first thing. Second thing we can say is explain how a glacier forms. The third thing that we can do is say that as the glacier moves through the valley, it creates two processes known as plucking and abrasion. We can then say what those two processes are, and that results in the valley getting wider and deeper with a flat bottom by the end of the Ice Age, which may have a ribbon lake in it. And that pretty much sums up the key steps at National 5 in explaining how a U-shaped valley is formed.